What's up, man? I want to talk about further elaborate on the Antonio Brown situation, and I'm hearing a lot of pundits on TV. Some people like Stephen A. They're saying you should not trade Antonio Brown, and some other people. And I have seen both sides of the coin. You know what I'm saying? I have seen people say that you should trade Antonio Brown. Now, I'm of this concept. If you can get some really good draft picks and a player, you know, coming back with Antonio Brown, an impact player, should you trade him? I would, in my opinion, because it's all about culture. Antonio Brown is challenging the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's challenging the culture of the locker room. No one player is bigger than a team. Repeat that. No one player, especially in football, it's too many guys, that you have to depend on for, like I said yesterday, for one play to work. That one player should not be capitulated to that point to where he can cause mayhem, not show up for meetings. And this is not the only time this year that Antonio Brown did not show up for practice. He did it before. He did it in early in the season. I believe he did it a couple times early in the season. So this is a habit. You know what I'm saying? That he thinks that he can get away with this. Now, should the Steelers have doled out a harsher punishment, before it got to this point? Sure. So they have some culpability. Do they have culpability of signing him to that long contract? Yes, even though I believe, Antonio Brown deserved the long-term contract that he got and deserved his money. The thing is this: Pittsburgh, he started showing signs of, like I said, I didn't really hear anything about Antonio Brown in a negative way until like the last year and a half. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what happened in between that time. Maybe he was doing things and it wasn't coming out. But like I said, I wasn't hearing anything. And, he was doing little things before he got the contract. And then do you think when he get the contract, he's going to get better? All of a sudden, he's going to become a better leader and all this stuff? No, you don't become a better leader because you have money. You're just going to be what you are. If you're a jerk without money, when you get money, you're going to be more of a jerk. That's it. That's just what it is. You a guy that's calm and in control of your emotions and can make good decisions. You're gonna do that when you have money. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. It's just all about a person's characteristics. Not saying Antonio Brown is a bad guy, bad dude. I don't even know him on that level. What I know is this: the man wasn't there for his team when his team really needed him. In the last game, the most important game of the season, Antonio Brown was unavailable because of disciplinary reasons. And if you want to get on here and make excuses for him, it's Mike Tomlin or it's Ben Roethlisberger that's calling people out and all. Okay, that may be true, but that doesn't control Antonio Brown's emotions and his actions. You got to be a professional. The Pittsburgh Steelers, as an organization, entrusted you with a lot of money, gave you a lot of money, gave you a lot of upfront money, gave you the bonus money that you was looking for. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be a professional. You have the least you can do is show up to practice, show up to the biggest game, all the games that you are not injured in, that you're able to play in the especially the biggest game of the year. What if Cleveland Browns would have won and Steelers would have lost by 3 or 4 points or something like that, and it was like, man, if we had Antonio Brown, we could have won. You know what I'm saying? So by the Steelers winning, Antonio Brown is not getting killed all the way, but that has nothing to do with it. You have to be there for your team, man, period. Whatever sport you are in, Antonio Brown, if you don't want to be there for your team, just go to an individual sport. That way, if you don't want to show up to practice, if you don't want to practice, if you don't want to show up to the game, you hurting yourself. You're not hurting the other 50-something people on the roster, you know what I'm saying, of a football team. You're hurting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Some people just need to be in the individual sport so they can have all the glory, because that seems to me what Antonio Brown want to do. He's happy when he get his numbers. You know what I'm saying? It seems like to me that a lot of these wide receivers, man, Beckham included, if the team lose, but they have like 15 targets, 11 touchdowns, 130 yards with 2 touchdowns. 11, like 20 targets, 11 catches, 150 something yards catching, receiving, and about 2 or 3 touchdowns. They not mad because they got their numbers. You know, it's about a numbers game with them. Now, is it about a number game or is it about winning? You know what I'm saying? What is it about? The Pittsburgh Steelers need to sit him down and say, "Are you all in for the team? First of all, foremost and over anything, are you all in for the team? Period." You know what I'm saying? And I know, people are killing Mike Tomlin over it. My thing is this: Mike Tomlin probably and the organization probably should have took a harsher stance when he didn't show up for practice early in the year. I think they only fined him. They should have set him down the game to show him that we will sit you down if you don't come to practice. We have to put a game plan in. You are one of the major pieces of the game plan. You have to come to practice, period. You know what I'm saying? And I've been telling people for years that great wide receivers do not equal Super Bowls. You do not need a great wide receiver to win a Super Bowl. I can go down a list of all the great wide receivers that was not the best player on the team when the team won the Super Bowl. The only wide receiver that I can remember of recent, over the last 30 years, 30 to 35 years, that was the best wide receiver in the league and was the best player on his team was Jerry Rice when they won the Super Bowl. A couple times when he won the third Super Bowl with Joe Montana and when he won the first Super Bowl with Steve Young. Jerry Rice was the best player on the field. And I'm going to write that down. Jerry Rice is the only great receiver that I know of that played in the Super Bowl and was on a Super Bowl winning team, and he was the best player on the roster, and they won the Super Bowl. I can go through a long list of great wide receivers that did not win a Super Bowl. Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Odell Beckham, because he's this generation great receiver. Julio Jones did not win the Super Bowl. Yes, people gonna say, "Oh, he did not win the Super Bowl." Terrell Owens was in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. He won. As a matter of fact, let me go to that. Terrell Owens was the best wide receiver on the field in the Super Bowl, and his team did not win the Super Bowl. Randy Moss was the best wide receiver in the Super Bowl when the Giants played the Patriots. They did not win the Super Bowl. Julio Jones was the best wide receiver on the field when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and they did not win the Super Bowl. Great wide receivers do not equal Super Bowl wins. It doesn't. It just doesn't. You can win a Super Bowl with a great quarterback and marginal receivers. Tom Brady has done it. Countless of other people have done it. You don't have to have great wide receivers to win a Super Bowl. Antonio Brown need to get that to his head. Now, people will say, well, he's a great wide. Okay, so how many Super Bowls have Pittsburgh won since they had Antonio Brown? I'm going to wait. Since Antonio Brown was a great wide receiver, how many Super Bowls did they win? I don't think they won any Super Bowls. Not one. Since Antonio Brown has been a great receiver for them. Big Ben won a Super Bowl. A couple. Tom Brady, great quarterback, the best player on the field, won Super Bowls. It doesn't happen with wide receivers. Not saying that you don't need, that you should not appreciate when you have a great wide receiver, but great wide receivers usually don't equal Super Bowls. Because for one, in this era, you paying a great wide receiver a whole load of money. So when you paying a great wide receiver a whole load of money, how is your number 2 and your number 3 wide receiver looking? When you paying a wide receiver that much money, how is your running back looking? How is your middle linebacker looking? How is your offensive line looking? Because when you pay your wide receiver that much money, you can't pay everybody else. You can't pay everybody else. Antonio Brown can be like Stephen A. Smith. Oh, Antonio Brown, he's great. He is. I wouldn't trade him. As great as he is, how many times have they won a Super Bowl since he's been on the best wide receiver in the league? Not one time. Him being that great, how many times have they went to the AFC Championship game with Antonio Brown? Since 2010. I think Antonio Brown came in 2010. He wasn't really that good. He really wasn't getting a lot of praise until like what, 2012. Okay, so I'm gonna be fair to him since like 2012, 2013. How many AFC Championship games have the Pittsburgh Steelers went with Antonio Brown, and how many have they won? Okay, let alone not win a Super Bowl. How many Super Bowls did the Pittsburgh Steelers get to with Antonio Brown leading the way at wide receiver? You see what I mean? And you can go through every Super Bowl in history. I'm gonna go through these Super Bowls of the ones that I know something about now, and I do know something about these in the beginning of Super Bowls when Green Bay won the first 2 Super Bowls. I don't remember a great wide receiver that was the best player on any one of those teams because the quarterback was, and they had a running game. The New York Jets, I don't know a great wide receiver that was on that team. Now I'm gonna go to where I know, and I'm gonna go to, let me see. When I start, okay, I'm gonna go to the '85 Bears. You know, I was 9 years old when I seen that. The '85 Bears had Willie Golf. Willie Golf wasn't the best player on the field. He wasn't the best player on the team. You had to say the defense carried that team. Then after that, you had to say Walter Payton was the best player on the team. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go to the New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor was the best player on the field. If you want to go to the Washington Redskins, they didn't have they had Art Monk. I believe they had Art Monk, but he wasn't the best player on the football field. If you want to go to San Francisco, the first I'm gonna say the first San Francisco Super Bowl, Joe Montana was. You know what I'm saying? By the time they got to like the second Super Bowl, well, yeah, the first Super Bowl with the first Super Bowl. By the time they got to like the Super Bowl against Denver, Jerry Rice was the best player. He was the best player on the football field then. But he's the only wide receiver I see out of all of this. Dallas, okay, you could say Michael Irvin was a great wide receiver, but was he the best player on the field? I would have to say Troy Aikman, then I had to say Emmitt Smith after that. In any one of those Super Bowls. You want to go to Green Bay? Brett Favre was the best player on the football field when they won that Super Bowl. You want to go to Denver? John Elway was the best player. And then you can say Terrell Davis was the best player. In the second one, Terrell Davis was the best player. You know what I'm saying? Well, you could probably say Terrell Davis was the best player on the football field. Him and John Elway, 1A and 1B. St. Louis Rams. Kurt Warner was the best player on that. Even though they had great wide receivers, Marshall Faulk was the best player on that football team when they won that Super Bowl. Not the wide receivers, as good as wide receivers that they had. What you want to say, New England? Name me a great wide receiver that New England ever had other than Randy Moss. And when they had Randy Moss, they did not win the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? So we can go on and on and on. Name me in one of these Super Bowls, the best player on the field was a wide receiver, and they won a Super Bowl. You can't tell me, because great wide receivers do not equal Super Bowls. Great defenses equal Super Bowls. Great quarterbacks equal Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? That's where you put your stock into. I'm not saying look, I'm not saying having a great wide receiver is bad, but what I'm saying is they do not equal Super Bowls. And I don't think Pittsburgh is going to win a Super Bowl with Antonio Brown on the team. Not saying it's all his fault. I'm just saying when you invested that much money on the wide receiver, just like the Giants, they invested all that money in Odell Beckham. All that money. That's a lot of money for a wide receiver, a dependent position. Wide receiver is the most dependent position on the football field. They are dependent on the offensive line being in sync, and they're dependent on the quarterback getting them the football. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't understand the X's and O's of sports, man. They just look at highlights. They look at Antonio Brown highlights and say, "Wow, look how great he is." But they don't look at the X's and O's. You got to look at the X's and O's. Like I said, Antonio Brown, great wide receiver, great talent. But your best ability is availability. And he was not there for his team when his team needed him the most. In the most important game of the season. Period, point blank. There's no reason why he shouldn't have been there. He wasn't hurt. Mike Tomlin just came out and said he called him to see the extent of his knee injury, and Antonio Brown did not get back with the team. That's it. That's it. So you can't say he was hurt. That's it. It's rumors saying that the team named Juju Smith-Schuster the MVP of the team. Antonio Brown could have felt some way about that. Antonio Brown is you could tell he's an emotional dude, man. Now, if I was the best wide receiver on the team, somebody gave somebody else the MVP, would I have been upset? Not to the point where I'm gonna miss the next game, the most important game of the season. Not to that point. Not to the point I'm gonna miss practice when I should be there and I'm one of the most important guys for the game plan. Not to that point. I may be a little salty, but I'm not to the point where I'm gonna get mad at my teammates or nothing like that. I'm just gonna say, well, I mean, y'all thought I won the best, okay? Well, y'all thought I won the MVP. And most valuable player doesn't mean that you're the best. You know that have been not the definition of that has been not properly interpreted, because most valuable player doesn't mean you're the best player. You know what I'm saying? So even the NBA need to go back and revisit that. They need to give out a MVP, most valuable player, and they need to give out a best player award. Most valuable player is most valuable to the team. So the reason why I believe they elected Juju Smith-Schuster the most valuable is because they no longer had Le'Veon Bell, and Juju Smith-Schuster stepped up. He stepped up in a big way. So they saying his value to the team, because Le'Veon Bell wasn't there, they needed somebody else to step up. He stepped up. Antonio Brown just did what he always do. Just be great. No one's is saying this Juju Smith-Schuster is a better receiver than Antonio Brown right now. Nobody's saying that. But they are saying he's the MVP. He's the most valuable player. Without him, we could not have been in the position that we are in right now without his contribution. Because Big Ben gonna do what Big Ben gonna do. Antonio Brown gonna do what Antonio Brown do. We need somebody else. Because we had Le'Veon Bell was that third party. We need a third party. That's all that means. But I'm going to get out of here, man. Like I said, wide receivers do not equal Super Bowls. Name me, other than Jerry Rice, I already said Jerry Rice, name me a wide receiver that was the best player on the football team the year they won the Super Bowl. And I'm going to wait. Put it in the comment section. I'm out.